Lord of the Flies, Chapter 5, Beast from Water, by Karen, Midori, and Varshini.
Chapter 5 begins with a detailed description of the setting, of the location of the meetings, and Ralph's location on the island. In this quote, shown here, the tide was coming in, and there was only a narrow strip of firm beach between the water and the white stumbling stuff near the palm terrace. This quote describes the shore that Ralph was pacing on, and the word narrow signifies that Ralph was there alone because it was a small space. The phrase between the water and the white stumbling stuff near the palm terrace shows that he's on the shore between the water, the ocean, and the white sand on the beach. The palm terrace tells us that it's close to the meeting place, as we know from the settings in other previous chapters. The next quote is when the sun was gone along the dry leaves. When we look at when the sun was gone, we can tell that it means the sunset, or after the sun has set. So it's the first meeting that the boys ever have that is held after nightfall. And along the dry leaves lets us infer the season in which the event is taking place. And dry leaves are usually found in the autumn. And this is a change from seasons, because before we saw the heat of the day, and now we're looking at the dry leaves. In Chapter 5, there were two main symbols. The beast was a really big part of this chapter, because we don't know if the beast is real or not. There are arguments for both the beast being real and the beast being not made in this chapter. For the beast being real, we see that Percival, a small boy, says that the beast comes out of the sea, and the boys agree that there could be a beast because not all the animals in the ocean have been found yet. But, according to Ralph and Piggy and most of the older boys, they believe that the beast can't exist for two reasons. Because Piggy says that it could not be scientifically possible, or it would not make sense, and that Jack has been everywhere on the island, and he hasn't found the beast yet. The desire for power and violence is also shown through the beast, because Simon says maybe there is a beast, and this is because Simon realizes that the beast may not actually be an external organism or a force, but it could be the internal desires for power, violence, and savagery in each of the boys themselves. The increase in fear is shown by the beast in this chapter because the beast is now a really large part of the boys' lives, especially at night, and this is shown through, because this is the meeting is held at nighttime, how the boys are a lot more afraid than when the meetings were held during midday. Another significant piece of symbolism in this chapter is the fire. And the significance of the fire is to provide hope, and it represents knowledge in a way, because as long as the fire keeps going, the boys can still have hope that their lives will get better and they will be rescued, which is similar to in our society. If we still keep learning and if there's still knowledge, there's still hope that our society will become a better place for us to live in.
Why do you think Ralph was doubting his leadership skills? Why do you think that the older boys say that there is no beast even though they believe there is a beast?
This first quote is a representation of imagery. It says, "I was asleep when the twisty things were fighting, and when they went away, I was awake, and I saw something big and horrid moving in the trees." If you read this aloud to yourself, then it will help you create a vivid picture in your mind, and it will help you realize what is actually happening as you're reading it, and you will be able to create a picture in your mind. This second quote is also another representation of imagery. It says, "The tide was coming in, and there was only a narrow strip of firm beach between the water and the white, stumbling near the palm terrace. If you read this aloud to yourself and you imagine the narrator reading it to you, you could really imagine the tides coming in. And the author was going into depth about the tides coming in, and you could really imagine the tides coming in. The third quote is a representation of tone. It says, "And you shut up. Who are you anyway?" Sitting there telling people what to do. You can't hunt. You can't sing. The author uses tone for this quote, and Jack was mad because he was saying that Ralph was not a great leader, and Ralph did something to make him mad. Therefore, he was using an angry voice and making him feel bad about himself. So this first quote, it says, "But you've talked and talked. I've got the conch." The conch is representing a microphone, and whoever has a microphone is talking, and so that means you can hear the person the most and has the most attention. The fire is the most important thing on the island. The fire on the island is representing the intelligence of the boys, and keeping the fire up is showing their hope for getting off the island someday.
Do you think the boys made the right choice in choosing Ralph as their leader? Ralph tells the group, "We ought to die before we let the fire out." What does he actually mean by this statement? The first quote says, "He found himself understanding the wearisomeness of this life, where every path was an improvisation and a considerable part of one's waking life was spent watching one's feet." In the beginning of this chapter, you can tell that Ralph is growing up. He starts to understand life and the meaning of it. The second quote says, "If faces are different when lit from above or below, what is a face? What is anything?" The wilderness is changing Ralph. Ralph starts questioning life. The third quote says, "Life is scientific. That's what it is. In a year or two, when the world is over, they will be traveling to Mars and back. I know there isn't no beast, not with claws and all that I mean, but I know there isn't no fear either, unless we get frightened of people. Piggy says that there is nothing to be afraid of, unless we start to fear other people." The fourth quote says, "What I mean is, maybe it's only us." Simon is growing up too. He realizes that human evil exists. Maybe the beast is them. He realizes that human nature is the real beast. Simon and Piggy come to equal but opposite conclusions. Piggy has a logical attitude, which is that we're afraid of each other. Simon has a more of an inner perception. It's not each other we need to be afraid of, but ourselves. A conflict in this chapter is the fear of the beast. The boys don't know if the beast is real or not, which worries them. The main conflict in this chapter is that Jack and some of the other kids will not listen to Ralph. They don't take the meeting seriously, instead they fool around. Jack tries to take control of everyone and leads them away from Ralph, like when Ralph shouts out that the rules are the only thing they've got holding them together. But Jack is louder and leads a pack of boys off to search for the beast and hunt them down. How does the island the boys are stuck on relate to the people in North Korea?